Today, I'm going to raise my voice a little. I want everybody to keep eating, but we have to announce August Wolf, who's running for U.S. Senate, because he has to leave. He's got another thing to go to. So I'm going to start by introducing him. This is August Wolf. I'm going to give the floor to him for a couple minutes. The rest are going to go at 10 o'clock, but he's, like I said, he's got to go, so we're going to start out here. You're going to have to speak loud.
Thank you very much. I'm delighted to be here. The first thought I had when I walked in was I finally made it to New Hampshire during a primary. That's what it felt like. And I wasn't able to go because I was very hard, working very hard here on my campaign. But I want to thank you all for being here and just being part of the democratic process in our country, set you apart from everybody right away. So I'm Augie Wolf. I'm running for U.S. Senate. I'm a father, I'm an Olympian, and I'm a business leader. And I'm no stranger to uphill battles. Come this November, you're going to hear it right here, our state will send Dick Blumenthal home for good.
The other guy, get him too.
Well, later, somebody else can tackle that, I'll help. The climate is right for this. The state is ready. And I think I have the wherewithal with the great staff and everyone's help here to get it done. I graduated from Princeton University. I competed in 1984 Olympic Games in the shot put. And I have four amazing kids. I have a daughter who's a basketball player, and she's been on our Facebook site a lot lately. And I have 3 sons. I'm no stranger to uphill battles. In fact, I've heard rumors, I'm going to ask Daria if she's heard this challenge is too big for my campaign.
You're going to make it.
No. Oh, there you go. Okay. Well, I can tell you what she's saying is true. These rumors are wrong, and we are going to beat Dick Blumenthal. I've been an underdog all my life, and I've always surprised the people who don't believe. I get up in the morning just like you, and I put my shoes on. And I go to work. And in fact, for a long time, I got up at 5 in the morning, and I was on a train platform at 5:45, doing what everybody here does. I'm a resident and a taxpayer, a sad one, in the state of Connecticut. Okay. You know what? Regarding those taxes, we all can't believe, where do these people come from who think that this is normal to tax people like this in the state? I don't get it. Unfortunately, I'm not a self-funder. Now, that hasn't worked great in our state lately for Republicans, so maybe it's not the answer. I wish I did have an unlimited checkbook. I don't. I'm not wealthy. In fact, I have to still work, okay, like everybody here, or most people here. Unlike my opponent, I don't own the Empire State Building. A lot of people in Connecticut aren't aware of the wealth of Senator Blumenthal because Linda McMahon had more money than he did, okay, and she couldn't make that an issue. Okay, but so what he made this election. These are actually a lot of reasons why I'm running. Because the politicians in Washington are no longer anything like we the people. They've lost touch. They've lied to us. Both sides of the aisle, I believe, for decades. The taxes in this country are too high. Although Blumenthal may think they're fine, they're too high. And they're spent by an army of unelected bureaucrats that we allow to remain in power. That's got to change. So let's reduce spending and reduce the drain on our country and the pressure on future generations. We have also the lowest number of people participating in the labor force since when I was on the Olympic team in 1984. By the way, that was the same year that Dick Blumenthal was elected, 1984. He was first elected and started getting paid as a public politician on our dime 32 years ago now. And by the way, do you know who's turning 70 today? Senator Blumenthal. He's been at it that long. Jobs aren't fleeing Connecticut. They're running away from taxes, regulations, and of the war on capitalism declared by career politicians like Dan Malloy and Dick Blumenthal. GE, leaving the state. Aetna and Sikorsky maybe right behind. Should we fix this? Herb, do you think we can fix it? Is it too late?
It's a major operation.
I think we're up to it. We're up to the challenge, I believe. If you want to fix it, what do we have to do first and foremost? Who has a good idea? Max, young guy. I'm told to ask young people because they actually answer. First thing.
A lot, stop the regulation, unnecessary regulation.
Regulation and taxes. Taxes too high. If somebody wants to start a business right away, they got to pay this. There are like 3,000 taxes in this state. What are they thinking? We need a wholesale change in that attitude, obviously. We have to have local government here and state government like Florida and Texas and South Carolina. That's where all the companies are going. So it's not that hard to see what they're doing and say maybe we should do that. So we have to get government out of the way. Yes, our national security is about taxes and jobs, but it's also about what's going on in the rest of the world. And now what's the greatest topic? ISIS. ISIS had said that it's us or them, effectively. If you delve into their literature and their thought process, they want to kill us. As your senator, I will make sure that we survive. How many veterans do we have here? Yeah. So we don't take, the VA system's a disaster. And you guys know what senator blocked the VA accountability bill this fall from going on to the Senate floor for debate that would give the VA administrators the ability to get rid of underperforming people. Who blocked that bill?
Nobody's been fired.
Our Senator Blumenthal.
No blooming way.
So we're going to make a big mention of that. What was his excuse? Well, if you can't, if you're an employee and you're afraid you might get fired, we're not going to be able to attract good talent to the VA. That was his excuse. So budget cuts, as I said, have hollowed out our military, and that has to change. But the American people will ultimately prevail. Who remembers Ronald Reagan? What did he say about peace? He said that you get peace through strength. And he said that the American people, right here, we value peace above anything, and we do, and so do I. However, as a senator, I will not compromise for it. I will not apologize for what we do for peace, and I will not surrender for it, ever. So, our campaign will outwork and outfight anybody in this primary. I am not going to sleep until May 9th, I believe it is, the primary.
The convention, yeah.
The convention, I'm sorry, till the convention, and then the primary is in probably August, I'm not sure if you
You're
know.
not gonna have a primary.
Okay, but, and then, we are gonna take it to our show pony senator like he's never felt it before. And we're gonna beat him. He doesn't understand, but he's gonna wish he hadn't decided to run again. Okay? We used to champion American exceptionalism. Everyone here, that's why you're sitting here. You love America, so do I. And now, we have leadership in Washington that condemns it, taxes it, and thinks that we should apologize for it. That's not how it was the last way, that's not how it was the last time I represented the United States in the Olympic Games. Who watched the 1984 Olympic Games in LA? We all remember that. I was there. I was lucky. I wasn't lucky, actually. I worked very, very hard to get there, as did all the other Olympians on the team. And when we marched into the Olympic ceremony, and there were 100,000 people there waving American flags, you couldn't even hear each other talking. I had Mary Lou Retton next to me. She took a liking to me somehow, and she was about this tall, and I was this big. And we marched by Ronald Reagan, Nancy Reagan. What a feeling! And it was the culmination of American achievement, and we can do things. And that's what everybody thought in the country at the time in general. That's the feeling that I want to bring back. I want to champion this American dream again. I'm going to tell everybody one other story about that American dream right here in my pocket. August Wolf, not me, my grandfather, immigrated to Austria, from Austria to Ellis Island in 1922. He was a butcher, he spoke no English, he was from southern Austria, he knew how to chop up meat with his hands. It took about a dozen years to get set up. He started a business with 2 other immigrants from other countries, and together they built a company called Wolf & Berry that delivered meat all over New York City. When I was a young boy, I would go into the meat lockers with him, and he had these massive hands, and he'd sort of rough language to all these other big guys in there. And he ultimately retired, and when he retired, he got a gold watch. And let me read you what it says in the back. Here's the watch. This is one of my power watches. To Gus Wolf, from George and Chris, 1935 to 1967. So where else in America could a butcher who didn't speak the language work hard and retire and get an 18-karat gold watch? Nowhere. But that dream is under assault now. My kids, I'm not sure what's going to happen to them. Most of my peers, the kids are living at home, they can't even find a job. And taking risks now in our country for a smart business person is very, very big, scary. You don't know what the regulatory environment's going to do. You don't know about your taxes. You don't know what the dollar's going to do, the stock market, this and that. They've made a mess of our country, bottom line. We have to get it back. So, getting back to ISIS, and that's the last thing I'm going to say. Our standing in the world stage has taken a hit, huge, thanks to very bad policy and leadership. We need to get that back. Our embassies are being sacked, ISIS is executing people, Iran is taking our military hostage, and the world is laughing at it. And the reason I'm bringing all that up is because in the middle of all that, what did Dick Blumenthal choose to do on this Iran agreement? You guys know what he did? He voted yes. He voted to give Iran $150 billion back. The #1 state sponsor of terrorism in the world. They're fomenting most of the mischief in the Middle East now, Iran. Who would do that but someone who had lost total touch with what it means to be an American? Dick Blumenthal. That's why we need to get rid of it. So as your next senator, I will make you proud again, and I will protect you and your children, and I'll focus on the next generation, not the next election. This is not about me, it's about you. So I need your support. I'm Augie Wolf. I'll be your next senator in November. Questions or, yes sir?
What sort of experience do you have in public life?
I have none, and I would look at Washington. It's actually not true. I'm on some boards, and I've worked with the United States Olympic Foundation. So I've helped athletes. I have a little organization supporting sport athletes. I've helped 1 million people in my life in the way I can help them. But I would argue with Washington, with the $19 trillion worth of debt, 2/3 of our spending, the Congress doesn't even get to approve. I mean, we have a mess in Washington, and these people are all allegedly, professional public servants. They're a disaster, I think. So we need some other people. We've got too many attorneys there. We need more people, business people. 1 out of 10 senators has business experience. And that's, I think, our biggest problem. We have people who know how to balance budget. Am I talking too much now?
Not at all.
Any other questions? Marissa, do you like it? I feel very privileged to have been here. Thank you for your attention, and we'll hopefully have more of these things as things go develop. Okay?
Oh, I didn't do anything.
Welcome. Good.
Hi, everybody. Thanks again for having me. I'll be back when we do.
You gotta speak up a little louder.
I'll talk very loud so you can hear me. A lot of you know me already. I ran before, and just like Joe Courtney and Bob Simmons, I've had to run again. And this time we're going to take back Connecticut. Do you think we can do it this year with everything that's going on? I know we can take back Connecticut. And I think the key to taking back the entire state is going to be in the 2nd district. If we turn out the vote here, I think we can use that to bring the whole state over. And I'm not being overly dramatic, and I'm not being, as my daughter would say, a politician, and just say what you have to do. Yeah, I've got an 18-year-old who thinks that I'm slimer than a mushroom because I'm doing politics. And I said, no, if all the good people who are ethical and people like us that work hard, the voters, if we leave the political arena, we leave it to those who are crooked, to those who would tax us to death, to those who would be inside our bedrooms telling us what to do personally, who would overregulate our businesses. And I told my daughter and my son, I won't do that. I'm not going away. I'm fighting for Connecticut. I was born and raised here. I want to be able to afford to retire here. So I'm going to be not a little timid person, but I'm going to be your alley cat in Washington, D.C. I'm going to scrap for you and fight for the 2nd district and fight for Connecticut and fight for this country. And what that means for you is that I'm going to talk about why we can make America strong again, our national defense, redo our military so we're proud of that, taking care of our veterans, the things that Augie said too. These are all necessary for us. Now, when I go to D.C., I gave each of you, I think I've got almost everybody in the room, there's still a few to go. I gave everybody a business card. On the back of the card is my donation form. So now, for any of you who are thinking about being candidates, I suggest you try something like this. People won't throw away a business card with a phone number to reach somebody on the front, will they? They'll keep it. So the next time you see them, you say, do you have my business card? Yes, you have my donation form yet. But guess what? I have all the money I need to run, but it's still in your pocket. So take out that business card, flip it over, and send a donation. It's that simple. How many in here have been to Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts or bought coffee on the road? Anyone buy coffee? Yeah. Well, guess what? 2 cups of Starbucks coffee and this business card, and I've got a donation from you if I could talk that money out of your pocket and into mine. Now, when I say my pocket, we're being very, very frugal in this campaign. We don't spend on anything that we don't have to spend on. So why should I print up something on another form when I can do it all on this and make it less expensive? Now, we brought on board, lessons learned. We've got a professional business person on board, a professional treasurer, I've got campaign staff on board. We need more volunteers, but guess what? Already over 150 people have signed up. We've got Max, where's Max? Oh, there. Max Turgeon has endorsed me, and I'm glad to say he's working with us. He's the head of the high school Republicans in Connecticut. Now, you know what? Max is the face of the Connecticut Republican Party in the future. We've got other people here that are young elected officials. We are the party of diversity. We're the party of free enterprise, and we can do this. This is what people want. And you know what, I do have to say one thing about, I don't know who I'm supporting for president yet, but I have to say one thing about Donald Trump. He says what he intends to do. He talks about it openly, and he's like, hey, I'm just saying what you're thinking. Well, you know what? I know what the 2nd District's been thinking. I lived and grew up in the western and eastern Connecticut. It's who I am. And what I'm saying right now is I know we have had enough of taxes, enough of over-regulations, enough of businesses leaving, and enough of the lies. So what I'm asking you is please support my campaign. Let me go down to DC to serve you. And when it's my time, I will come home and I will help elect the next person, the next citizen to go down to Washington to serve us. Joe Courtney is a lifelong politician. It's time for him to retire. We need real jobs in Connecticut, not redistributed income where someone's working 2 part-time jobs and they're counted as fully employed. We need real career paths for people. We need to bring jobs in the defense sector back into this district. Good long-time jobs, not just a couple of jobs at EB, but we need a strong economy all over this district. So please, I'm asking you to please donate to my campaign. Let me serve you. Let me be your alley cat down in Washington. I'd love to go down with Augie. As you know, he's a first-time candidate running. We're both non-politicians in that sense. We don't have careers in that. I did work as a career and political appointee in Washington in the Reagan administration with a background in crisis management and dual-use nuclear military weapons systems. I started a company 16 years ago working on counterterrorism, homeland security systems, training, and consulting. I've got the kind of background that Eastern Connecticut needs. I've been a university professor at Eastern, at UConn. I've raised 2 kids. They're the joy of my life. They outdo everything. They're 18 and 19 now. One's a sophomore and one's a senior in college at 19. I mean, they're great kids. They're going to be future leaders too, I'm sure. But I got to put them through school, and I've got to ensure their future, just like we have to ensure our children, our grandchildren's future. So I want to talk about America to my grandkids one day and talk about the time we almost lost our freedom in this country, but we saved it. So please help me to do it. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much. And Max was already introduced, but I'm going to have Max come up and just say hi to everybody. Come on up, Max.
Thank you.
High school representative.
Hello, everyone. I'm a high school Republican. Yes, we do exist. Small numbers, but we're there. So, start off with a funny story. My grandpa was born in Soviet Lithuania. So, high school is the time where you're supposed to go through your socialist phase or whatever. And there are kids who think that way. So my grandpa said, Max, how many kids in school, like Bernie Sanders? I said, well, quite a few. He said, well, do you think they know what socialism is? And I said, no, they don't know at all. So he said, Max, tweet my phone number and say, have kids call me. I'll tell them what socialism is. And 2 people called him. And he said he had good conversations with them. So what I'm trying to do and what we as the Republican Party need to do is educate our youth to say capitalism and all these great things made America, not big government, things like that, which kids my age think we need. That's not what's going to help. So we need to work as a team because we need to build our party from the ground up. We need to start in the high schools, the colleges, which are very liberal places, I can assure you. Bias happens every day. In 3rd grade, I had my teacher tell me Hillary Clinton was going to be our savior, but no, really, that did happen. It did happen. So we need to work as a team to take not only the state back, but this country. It starts at the high school. And the reason we see young people tend to be more liberal is because they aren't informed. So we need to, my biggest job as chairman of the high school Republicans is educating my peers and having our other members just talk to other kids and tell them, this is what we're about. There's a big misconception about what the Republican Party is about in schools. They don't know what we're about, and we need to tell them what we're about. So thank you for having me.
I always like to see the young people involved. It's really important for all of us. The next up is somebody we might know, Sam Belcito. I think Sam's been following me around because anytime there's food, there's Sam. I took his line because he already said that to me.
Thanks.
Hey, Sam.
Food and myself go together. What can I say?
You must be Italian.
I'm Italian. That's it. Mangia, mangia, mangia. That's it. That's all you have to know. Okay, I'm running for the 3rd time, and it seems like I've been running every single year since I started. Special election. I won the special election, and we turned around and we started running for the next year. And now here it is, 2 years later, and I'm running again. Much that my wife loves it, but she also doesn't like it because it takes me out of the house a lot, but it makes it much calmer in the house.
And it's keeping you young, Sam. It's keeping you young.
But the whole thing here is, as Tim will tell you, Sam is going to speak. He's got unfiltered talk. So I'm going to tell you the truth. For over 40 years, the Democrats have run our state. 40 years. Even though we had Rel and Roland in there for a number of years, they could not get a budget passed because that they put out because the Democrats were in control and put everything down. Now here we are, it's basically 43 years later, and we are in dire straits. We have to straighten out our government. We have too many people relying on the government for what they need, and they're taking all of our funds and they're spreading them all over the place. And now we've got something new that's coming through the House and the Senate, and it's called block grants. So I don't know if you know what a block grant is. They're going to, instead of a line item on the budget, it's a block grant. It's just one item. And what's going to happen is, this is going to keep away a lot of the people who really need help, because they are not going to see the cuts to their particular area. So if it's social services, if it's anything else, you will not be able to see what they're cutting. And they won't know what's going to happen to them until it happens. So there'll be no backlash from the citizens who expect the care to be given to them, and they know it's not going to be coming. No one is going to know what is going to be cut, and that's the new philosophy of the man. I got a name for him. It's sort of slipping. Oh, I think it's called Pinocchio. The guy is so bad. And then we have the man who took away the automobile tax, and his name is Senator Looney Tunes, Martin Looney. And now Pinocchio has said that for the people who don't pay their taxes, we are still going to issue them registration. I can see maybe in some of the cities in Connecticut, over 50% of those people will not be paying the tax, but they'll still be able to register their cars. That means the town, in like the town of Tallinn, when I spoke to the town manager, we're talking about over $200,000 that they will lose from people not registering their cars, not counting $300,000 they're gonna lose because of the tax, the way it's set up now, going through the cities and going through Looney Tunes measure. So we are in a very, very difficult position right now. So we really have to get up there, and we have to speak up. We have to talk to our friends, the Democrats, everybody else. And most of you probably know I'm not in favor of surveys, because they are a waste of time and a waste of money in most instances. So I had a Democrat come up to me the other day, he stopped me in the hall, and he says, "You don't know me, but I've been here for 6 years," and I could not place the guy. And he said to me, "I just want to advise you, we're coming out with a survey." And I said, "You are?" I said, "What survey are you coming out with?" "Oh, we are going to make a survey on the police in our state to see whether it's best to teach them military-wise or teach them how to handle the state and the state method." And I said, "Why are you taking a survey?" He says, "Because we already went through and looked." I said, "So if you already went through and looked, why don't you contact 5 states that do military and 5 states that do regular, and then put the two together and just look at it. You don't have to do a full survey of the whole country again." And he says, "Oh no, we're doing a survey." So that's it. I can't stand it, because my first words out of my mouth is, "Oh my God, another survey, number 14,549. We don't need another one, believe me, we don't." But all you have to do is you really have to get in touch with your friends, relatives, neighbors. We have to stop the out-of-control spending that's going on. We need some sensible government. But thank you very much. And it's a great...
Thank you, Sam. You know, what he was just saying, as Mayor Vernon, it truly feels like there's an assault on the municipalities. Because that whole car tax thing, Vernon is like 3rd in the state for getting hit for tax-wise on the cars. And that's just from the percentage drop. When he tells us that they're going to stop suspending the registrations, 50% of that is a huge number in Vernon. You know, he's talking hundreds of thousands, I'm talking millions. So it's a big, big number. Tim, come on up. Hey, Tim. What do you know, Tim Allen?
First of all, kudos to the cooking team. Where's the cooking team? Isn't it great to have a nice warm breakfast on such a cold day, right? Think about one thing that's definitely not predictable is New England weather. Right? We can see what happened just a couple weeks ago with balmy weather. We said we're never going to get snow. Now we're back to snow with cold weather. But there is one thing that is predictable, and that's taxes in Connecticut, correct? Yeah. Okay. And I thought that, did anybody see the State of the Union address by Governor Malloy? Did you see that? Did you think that the body snatcher came and took the real Malloy and put somebody maybe like Larry Cafaro in there with a Malloy suit on? Because he was really talking conservative points. And now I'm starting to feel like a week after that I fall into a trap of believing him. And I'm starting to pull back from that belief right now because I'm thinking, you know what he's doing? He's setting us all up. He is setting us up that we get this comfort level that maybe we have somebody thinking differently in Connecticut on the Democrat side. And I'm starting to say, you know what? I'm pushing back. I'm thinking he's lying like a, you know, and I'm thinking what he's doing is he's talking about a 5.75% cut across the board for all services. So as state reps, senators, we have a great group of state reps back there, the young guns we call them, you know. And of course our statesman over there, right, Tony G, right? So I'm thinking that we've got, what he's doing is he's making all of these groups scream at us from mayors, you know, saying, what are you guys doing to us up there in terms of municipal taxes? The Social Services Department calling and saying, we can't afford another cut. Susan Herbst, right, overseeing the billion-dollar fortress, right, up there, screaming about cuts. So all of these special interests are coming after the reps, saying you can't, right, you can no longer take you can't allow these cuts to go through. What's the solution? Right? What's the solution? Tax increases, right? Oh, it's simple. We're just going to tax that whatever top percentage, right? That's BS. So I'm sitting there thinking, okay, so he's lining us up to get beat up for the next 3 or 4 weeks. All these people come after us saying you can't make these cuts. And you know what? There's a point at which you just don't have the money to spend. He's realized that finally. We don't have a 7% income growth in the state of Connecticut. We're going the other way. We're going the other way. So finally he said that, and I was shocked. I literally stood up and made a little howl when he said that he wants to make sure and pass the constitutional spending cap this year. And I literally I'm like, I think I fell in that false, he actually means it, because it was odd that during the State of the Union with a Democrat speaking at a podium that the Republicans were standing up and clapping. Am I not correct on that, right? And the Democrats were like, oh, we better stand up, you know, so. I'm proud to say that I take it to heart with Sam. It's like I started running, many of you know, I started running in 2006, the first time I ran, and got soundly beat because I didn't know politics, I didn't know the process. 2008 in the Obama year, just missed winning, and I knew that there was a change happening in this 8th district, that people really wanted somebody that wasn't going to follow the march of their leadership and literally say, I care about what's happening in the 8th district and make sure that they're properly served in Hartford. And been proud to be able to, since 2010, continue to win. Looking forward to, again, running this year. The only way I can win, though, is, unfortunately, with begging. Begging for your support, whether it's a small donation, a sign in the front yard, but most importantly, a vote on that in that Tuesday in November. So I'm looking forward to working just as hard to campaign as I always have in the past. But those donations start the process. Bob's got them back there. Others, that's one of the things that we did. Once we get the hurdle of the financial aspect out of the way, then it's all about talking to the constituents and telling what's wrong with this administration. And then making sure that we can support others that are also running. that we can, pick up the additional seats, that we can have a balanced government in Connecticut. It starts by removing some of those entrenched Democrats, and even though some of those newer Democrats in office, and say, listen, it's time that we had a balanced government here. Let's get the Senate on, at least in the majority, and that we would love to have the House majority, right, guys? Huh? We would love to have that, where we're the ones generous. Thank you again. It's a pleasure being here again, as always, at this wonderful Lincoln Day event. So thank you, Mayor.
Thanks, Jim. Can you imagine a day where we actually take all 3 offices in Hartford? We could actually probably turn Connecticut around, because right now, we're just on that downslope. All right, the next person, a couple of us may know, Tony.
Sam and I are here representing Connecticut, cranky old man. We got the young guns down there, excluding Bob and John. I don't know how they settled in with those guys, but it's great that they came up. We got, it's nice to see young people, because that's what we absolutely need. And, I think, I'm talking to Bill Campbell, he leaned over, he said, he's been listening to the same stuff for years, and it's true. We talk about the same thing, but it's really simple. It's not rocket science. I mean, you can't spend more money to take in. You can't borrow more money than you can afford to pay back. You can't run your family like that. You can't run a business like that. And the state of Connecticut can't run its government like that. But they do. But what they do. Because, and what's happened in the end result, like we were talking about, the end result is that GE leaves. GE, Aetna's flirting with the idea of leaving. There's other Fairfield County, big companies that are flirting with the idea of leaving. And they told us. See, that's the problem. They told us. 2011, General Electric said to us that our budgets were not sustainable, that if we didn't get it under control, then we were just going to have to come back to them for more and more taxes. And their board of directors and their shareholders are not going to tolerate it. And Len Pisano, our leader, knows quite a few of the top people at GE. They did not want to leave. They did not want to move their families out of Connecticut. They wanted to stay. But they've got shareholders. They've got a board of directors. These guys want bottom line profits. And they're saying to them, hey man, if you guys can't get the job done, we got people who can. And so and unlike our president, 2011, GE drew a red line. They told us what they were going to do. And we actually had leaders in Hartford on the other side who actually ridiculed them. Said, they're not really going to leave. Really. And I'll just tell you one final story, because you got a lot of really good speakers. Len Pisano, who's our leader, is working as hard as, I've been there 24 years. He's really working hard at this. He's everywhere. He's talking to editorial boards. He's talking to African-American churches. He's trying to broaden our base. And he was in on those negotiations with the governor and with the Democratic leaders. He was in the room every day when they were trying to find one. And here's a story he told us personally, and Art was there. He said he's walked out of one of the meetings, and Martin Looney was behind him. And Martin said to him, and they know each other, they're both attorneys from New Haven area, so they've known each other for years and years. And Martin's a nice man. So Martin said to Len, do you think GE's really going to leave just because of taxes? Do you think GE's really going to leave just because of taxes? And Len whirled around. Couldn't believe it. He said, Martin, you got to be kidding. He said, they got shareholders, they got board of directors, they got people who are pushing them, telling them they can do so much better almost anywhere else. Remember at UTC just a few years ago, they had that ABC anywhere but Connecticut? That's a fact. I mean, that was leadership at UTC telling subcontractors, don't come here. Go anywhere else.
How do, you know, when you got your top companies talking like that, what does that mean for the rest of us? You know, and we got an outward migration in Connecticut, and the people who are leaving are the people of means, and we're in a deep downward spin, and I don't know, can we get out of it? Only if we make some real changes and we get control at least of one of the chambers, so we can be a firewall. We got no firewall. When we had Jody in there, when we had Roland in there, whether you love him or not, he was a firewall. And I'll finish with one last thing. You know, the Democrats say, you had Republican governors and the spending didn't go down. Well, you know what? That's such BS, because every budget that Jody and Roland put forward, they increased in the legislature. They didn't decrease them, they increased every one. So it's time for all of us just to educate our friends and neighbors, because I don't know, we just can't sustain this. I think even the governors recognize that it's probably a disguise for more taxes, but I think personally he actually understands it for the first time. So it's up to the rest of us in these next elections to talk to people and say, don't add to that Democratic majority. Because even if they are nice people, and a lot of them are, and even if they do go door to door, and they knock on your door and they smile, and they will, they're going to vote with the Democratic majority when the time comes. They all do. So, thank you.
Well, we also invited Mayor Mark Boughton from Danbury. As you know, he ran for governor last time, and he's lining himself up to run again. And I personally like him. He's done a great job in Danbury. He pulled a muscle in his eye and had to have surgery. I just cringe just thinking of it. But so he's not here. But what we did was we brought Art Linares, who's the 33rd Senate District. I'm going like this, I should be. My wife always says, you didn't bring your glasses again?
They're in the car.
They are, I have 2 pair or 3 pair in the car.
Remember, she didn't volunteer to go out and get them.
And then I'll put them on, and you know what's going to happen with cold glasses. They're going to fog up, and I'm going to be like, all right. Art, come on. Yeah, absolutely. So is he one of the young guns or what?
Good morning, everyone. I'd like to thank Mayor Dan Champagne. I get that right?
You did.
Mayor Champagne. Thank you. Thanks for welcoming me here today. Clearly, I am not Mark Boughton. I have the honor to pinch hit for him today. I don't mind being second fiddle, but it's an honor to be here today. I was hoping that I didn't have to follow Tony the Tiger, because that's a tough act to follow. It's been such an honor being in the Senate with Tony Guglielmo. When Senator Looney Tunes is pushing some communist agenda, you know, and we're banging our heads against the wall, fighting God's work, we go back into the caucus room, and Tony Guglielmo always has something to say to uplift the caucus and to keep it interesting, keep it fun, and you know, it's like you know, Tony the Tiger. If I could, I would be you. I would be remiss if I didn't. Actually, when I first got elected, Tony put his arm around me and he said, "Son, I got shoes older than you." I said, "Tony, it's time for a new wardrobe." So I have a great relationship with Tony. He's a great guy. You guys are very, very lucky. Tim Ackert, great guy. So, Tim and I got elected at the same time. We came to Hartford, and you know, bushy-eyed, we wanted to do, you know, fight the good fight. And the first bill we had to vote on was the bill basically encroaching upon the Second Amendment rights. That was our first bill. And leadership pressed on us. Folks across the state pressed on us. And when it came down to it, Tim, Tony, and I stood up for those folks that protect the Second Amendment, because that law placed unnecessary harm on law-abiding citizens. And we also got the man, the myth, the legend, Sam Belcito here tonight. Now, he's innovative. This man is innovative. He knew he knows what people want. People want someone that stands up there and says what's on their mind, tells it like it is. And this is a guy that does it every day. He grabs the microphone in the House of Representatives, and he stands there, and he points out the problems in Hartford. And that's the kind of courage we need in Hartford. You know what? You're part of the Young Guns team, too. You're part of the Young Guns team. And, it is so nice to also introduce to you two of my very best friends. Andre Baumgartner, who's just turned 21. He finally and Jesse McLaughlin from Westbrook, both young state representatives. They're here today. Because John Kleinhans, your hometown boy, convinced me that I was actually the first choice for the keynote speaker. And if you're wondering why I led off with my comment on the Second Amendment, it's because he told me if I didn't, Bill was going to have a word with me. But today I want to talk about, first I want to just say why I'm proud to be a Republican. I'm proud to be a Republican because we think differently, because we're the party that says the status quo, no matter what it is not good enough for us. Because we're the party that looks at numbers, looks at statistics, and makes logical decisions about what we need to do for our future. That's what the Republican Party is, and I am proud to be part of it. And I'm going to tell you today, about how we're going to take this state back. It's about winning. We have got to win seats. Tim was right. We got to win seats in the Senate. We got to win seats in the House. And we are going to win the governor's office in 2018. I promise you that. Here's how we're going to do it. I'm going to tell you a story. Fresh out of college, I was 22 years old. I had just finished working for Marco Rubio in the Senate, that's why I didn't bring any water bottles up here today. I promise I drank all the water before, and I promise I won't repeat myself, or I'll try not to. I think it's a Cuban thing, I don't know. So I just came fresh out of college, fresh out of working for Marco Rubio in the Senate, and I came home, and I was so frustrated with everything that was happening in the state. We just had the largest tax increase in state history. We are seeing every second, we are seeing $60 leave the state of Connecticut. $3 billion of wealth, of business, left the state of Connecticut last year. We have a fiscal house that's completely out of order, $80 billion of unfunded liabilities with no plan to pay it back, and we got Senator Looney Tunes kicking the can down the road and has no idea why General Electric left. I don't even know if he knows what General Electric does. You ever seen that commercial with General Electric? Mm-hmm. People don't know what they do. I think he should be in that commercial. And so, I'll tell you what I did. I ran a campaign to win. I knocked on 10,000 doors. 10,000. I wore down holes in 3 pairs of shoes, and I hung those shoes in the front of my campaign headquarters to let my volunteers know how hard I was working. And we won on election day by 2,000 votes after everyone told me I couldn't do it, that I was too young, that I didn't have what it takes to be a senator. But guess what? We won. And then when everyone said it was a joke and it shouldn't have happened, we ran again. And then we won by 6,000 votes. And you know who we brought with us? Those 2 young men right in the corner here who did the same thing. Who knocked on doors, who listened to people, who said they were going to go up there and have the courage to fight for what was right, to fight for the people that we represent. And folks, that's how we're going to take Connecticut back. That's how we're going to make sure that the future is bright. If we get out there and we start knocking on doors, and it takes you guys to help us do that. It takes you guys to help us with your efforts, making phone calls, knocking on doors, donating to these incredible candidates. Now, after I got elected, I remember going up to the Senate, and I remember looking at the voting board. I had never stepped in to the state Senate before this. I had never been there. I never even went to the Capitol building. This was all very new to me. They gave me a big chair to sit in, and I was like, this is crazy. This is crazy. I looked up at the scoreboard, or the voting board, or whatever you call it, and I look at my name, I'm just like, how did I get here? This is amazing, how did I get here? And I'm sitting around, I'm looking, and I see, Senator Bayh, and I'm like, wow, she passed sweeping education reform. I look around, I see some other senators, and I'm just like, how did I get here? And then 3 months later, I said, how did they get here? So it began. I realized that we were outnumbered and outgunned up there, and that we got to get people to run. And so it began recruiting. And that's why I'm here today. I want to talk to you guys about making sure if you know someone that's a good candidate that might live in a district in Eastern Connecticut where there's a Democrat in that seat, maybe they're a good guy. But you know what? Find someone that's going to challenge them, because we have a courage deficit in the state of Connecticut, and we need to go out there and fight. I got, part of my work ethic comes from the fact that I started a business when I was 19 years old. It's a solar energy company. I realized that America has a big issue, obviously, with energy independence. We've got to get off the sauce out in the Middle East. We have to get rid of relying on folks that don't like us very much for our energy supply. So I started a solar energy company. Out of the basement of my home, my brother-in-law and I built this company. We have 65 people working for us. Most of those people are under the age of 40. And they came because they believe in our business. They believe in what we're doing. And we're creating jobs for these people. Now in Connecticut, by 2025, the amount of people that are over the age of 65 it's going to grow by 54%. 54%. Guess how many new workers we're going to have in Connecticut? Folks between the ages of 17 and 65. Think about it. That's going to decline by 0.1%. We've got to get young people running for office in this state. We've got to get young people back here working in this state. We've got to get them to believe in this state and raise their families in this state. Now, my parents chose Connecticut. Let me tell you a story about my family. In 1961, a force of Cuban exiles stormed the Bay of Pigs in Cuba. My grandmother held my father in her arms on the porch of their home in Havana, praying for the best. The invasion failed, and my grandmother, who had made clothes out of used potato sacks, brought my father and their 4 brothers to the airport, and they left for Spain, lived in a refugee camp for 2 years. They moved eventually to America. They came here as legal citizens. They waited their time and came here. And my parents ultimately ended up starting a family here in Connecticut because they believed that there was a future here. They believed that no matter what, they could work hard and be successful in America and in Connecticut. And that's what I believe in, and that's what I'm here to fight for. Because I believe our best days are ahead of us, and I will not stop working. Tim will not stop working. Jesse will not stop working. Andre will not stop working. Sam Dolcito, Tony the Tiger will not stop working until we make that come to fruition. And that's why I'm here, and we need your help to do it. Ladies and gentlemen, let's take Connecticut back. Thank you.
already introduced the other two that were in the back. There are a couple other people that I'd like to introduce. Jerry Nagy, from the Ashford Vice Chair. Grassroots Board of Directors. There he is over there. Can stand up. Nope, can you stand up? Wait. He's gonna get me for that one. Joan, kill me. Joan Orrs, Grassroots East, Coventry. Laura Roberts, Tolland RTC Chair. Tom Pope, Coventry RTC Chair. Bob Kleinhans, RTC Chair from East Lyme. Bob Hurd from the Vernon Republican Town Chair. Bill Folletti, 35th District State. Carl Slicer, video. Is there anybody I missed? I hope not. Because in my glasses. Ed. Former Vernon Mayor.
I would also like to announce Art Linares, the newest director of Grassroots East. And the first lady?
Oh, sorry. My wife. So, what I'd like, I should just do this. I'd like to introduce everybody, because it's everybody here that actually makes, the Republicans move forward, and the volunteering that you do. Because when I look around, I can see the people who do step up and help. And that's important for all of us in the room. Has anybody met Ken Kaplan? Ken is rehabbing the mills down on West Main Street and trying to bring the Motorcycle Museum into Vernon. I think he's doing a good job of it.
Thank you, sir.
And I think for anybody that's ever done an obstacle course, Ken is becoming an expert at them. Which is too bad, because for somebody that's trying to bring business to Connecticut, to have to climb over so many walls to get there and every time these guys were talking today, all I kept feeling was that pressure coming from the state again, because everything they're saying does affect